You're listening to Level Up with Wondr, a podcast where we take listeners on a journey through the exciting world of gaming, tech, and innovation. Join the Wondr Nation team as we talk with a diverse group of pros who have taken their skills to the next level.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Level Up with Wondr. I'm your host, Megan Nation. In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, we are highlighting leaders in the industry who are making a significant impact. I'm excited to welcome Martha Morales. Martha is the Assistant General Manager at Boyd Gaming. She has over 15 years of experience in the casino industry and has recently transitioned to a more gaming-centric role. She is a passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion and serves on the board of the Hospitality Charitable Foundation, providing scholarship and mentorship opportunities to students in Las Vegas. So super happy to have you here, Martha. So tell us a little about your background and how did your career begin and evolve over time?
Well, first, thank you, Megan, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here and chatting with you. I was born in Mexico and lived in Southern California for a little bit until my parents decided to move to Las Vegas. I come from a very humble background. My mom was a housekeeper, my dad, landscaper, construction. I grew up watching Las Vegas grow, and my father was one of the construction workers that helped build some of the properties that we have here in Las Vegas. I always wanted to be a teacher. I had a lot of teachers in my life that really made an impact, and I just thought, what better way to give back and pay it forward than. However, one of my friends in high school said, hey, you know what? There's a trade school, a hotel trade school. I think you'll be great at it. So I was fortunate enough to be accepted into the Area Technical Trade Center, which at the time had a couple of trades, one of them being hospitality. And that's kind of how I started in the hotel industry. Still wanting to pursue an educational track. However, I was presented with the opportunity to apply for, at the time, it was an Epicurean Charitable Foundation scholarship. And they said, you have to go to UNLV and pursue a hospitality degree. Some of my leaders at the time said, you can always be a professor, you can always be a teacher, just you're great at what you do here, go to school and pursue a degree in it. So kind of the rest is history. My longest stint was at Caesar's Palace. I spent 13 years there, really all of it on the hotel side.
That's amazing. So I think what's really interesting is you had people kind of championing you and cheerleading you along the way. I think that's a great segue into our next question, which would be, what do you love about the casino and hospitality industry?
Okay, so I used to be asked this question a lot. And my first answer was that I love to travel through people's experiences. I was a front desk agent, and I loved hearing about the different places people came from. We attract people from all walks of life. I love that it's exciting. Every time I go to work, you're part of someone's vacation.
Right, helping people make those core memories that they look back on for a lifetime, right?
Yes.
Right. No, I love that. That's a great answer. So what are some important lessons that you've learned throughout your career?
The biggest one that I've lived by is forever and ever. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice is actually a quote that I love to live by. And there's been times, don't get me wrong, that I've obviously made the wrong decisions. I didn't step back, take a deep breath, and really think through what I was going to say or my response or that email. So I think that's one of the things that I've learned thus far has been, people are watching me. I have someone who just actually passed in the industry sit me down and say, hey, Martha, you have a big responsibility now. And people are watching what you do. He said, you're a role model. Whether you say something or you don't, people are watching what you're doing. You have the crown, but it's heavy. And that was deep. I said, whoa. And this is from the president. Your words really carry. They carry a lot of weight. So you have to be careful with what you say. That was probably the most important lesson that I've learned in my career. So now, even though I want to be very authentic and say what I feel and say what's on my mind, I have to remind myself that not everybody feels the way I do, or not everybody's as passionate about a subject that I am. So I have to proceed with caution.
No, that's incredible. But I think, in the short time that we've known each other, you exude that confidence. You are clearly a role model. So I think that was a lesson well learned that you clearly adapted into your approach. So that was a really great backstory. So I'd love to shift over to your current role now. I'd love to hear more about your current position and what you're responsible for.
Yeah. So my current position now, I'm the assistant general manager at the Orleans here in Las Vegas. So now my responsibility is the overall operations of the property, from gaming, the hospitality, food and beverage. We have an arena as well. I'm more on the operational side,
Okay.
make sure that processes are working and our team members are happy and they don't need anything. We've given them all the tools that they need to do their job and be efficient and come into work and be happy and go home.
I love that. Huge role, a lot of responsibility. So with that, what's your favorite part of your job and what would you say brings you the most joy?
Walking the floor. I went from a property that has 4,000 rooms, any given day, 10,000 people that are not staying with us are walking through the property, to a property that caters to a lot of our local guests. I think the coolest, and I use that word coolest part of my day, is meeting new guests that they know that I'm new. I remember the first 90 days of my job, people would come up to me and say, I don't know you, you're new. Are you new here? You're new. I've never seen you here before. I've never had that before at another property, right? Secondly is being able to connect to my team from just speaking their language. When you're able to speak to someone in your own language, I think a more level of authenticity comes through. You feel a little bit more comfortable. They feel comfortable in asking me about my background. I think that's the part of my job that's bringing me the most joy, being able to have a skip level meeting or, a round table with team members and they're able to communicate. That's so powerful, right? They feel seen. They don't need a translator. They're like, Martha, I want to talk to you in Spanish. They don't need a translator. And they know that whatever they're telling me with a feeling, with a passion, I can understand it.
You know what? It really, as you were talking, I thought back to the piece of advice you got, how you're always being watched. And the fact that you're at this property, people were watching when you arrived, and they've looked to you as a leader because they know they can connect with you on such a deep level. So I think that's super special.
Yes, it's been an incredible transition.
So speaking of transitions, you're at your first company for 13 years. What was it like to transition into your new role? And did you face any challenges transitioning from hospitality to a more gaming-centric focus?
I knew hotel. I knew like the back of my hand. It was always a challenge. I was trying to figure out how to make it better, challenge myself. I moved to a more gaming-centric company, just company, period. The company is like, we're gaming first. Everything else comes second, third, or whenever. It doesn't matter. It's been a challenge. It's shifting my mentality, even from hospitality to gaming. It's a different shift. It's the same as far as you are focused on creating an experience for your guest, whether it's a gaming guest or somebody that just comes to dine and enjoy clubs and enjoy our city. That was really different for me to say, hey, these guests come here to just step away, escape their home life, and come in and play a slot machine. That was really different for me. And I hadn't experienced people that may come 2-3 times a day to your property. It's been just a mental shift. We know the gamer mentality is different. You want value for your buck, right? I played this much. What can I get? They deserve something. They want something for all the time that they spent with us. The hospitality side, they come and hang out and eat and they go home and they're happy. But again, we have to think of ways to keep them engaged and keep coming on a deeper level than you have to on the hospitality side.
You're spot on, right? And at the end of the day, it really does come back to customer journey, loyalty. What value are you bringing your players? It sounds like you learned so much. I think your previous role was just so foundational in your career. Big hat that you're wearing, but I think that you're obviously doing it with so much thoughtfulness and intentionality. So it's really exciting to hear these details. What has been your proudest moment thus far in your current role? It sounds like you've really overcome so many things. You've been able to bring so many things from your previous experiences forward. So I'm sure there's quite a few things that you could share, but what's the first that kind of comes to mind?
The one that I will never forget is when I was stopped by one of our casino porters, and she told me, "We're so proud of you. You're one of us and you're leading us. We're so proud." I was like almost in tears because I had never been told that. I know that those positions are a lot. They're the unsung heroes. They're doing the hard work. They don't get all the tips or all the attention. So for her to say that, it was so authentic. I felt that it was just so real. I'm like, you know what? I'm able to do what I do because of you. Our guests keep coming because of you too. Like, you are as important as everybody else. I didn't get here by myself. I had all these people surrounding me that helped me. It made it all worth it.
No, that's fantastic. And like, what a special moment to be able to recall. I'm sure it was a special moment for her. And I'm sure just the sheer amount of visibility that you have with your staff has been great for morale. And I'm sure it just impresses on everyone what an important job they're doing. Thank you for sharing that story. So I'd love to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month. It is obviously currently Hispanic Heritage Month. Can you share a bit about your culture and how that's affected your career path?
So I'm Mexican, and I was raised, I like to tell people, very Mexican, meaning I grew up watching telenovelas. I grew up listening to all Spanish music. One of the things that affected me, I would say both positive and negatively, in our culture, we put our head down and we work. There's not a lot of raising your hand for the next promotion or the next opportunity, because you just work. You're waiting for someone to tap you. And half of the time, I know my parents, they wanted to just do their job. So growing up in a household where what we're doing now, this is good enough. You don't rock the boat because we may lose it all. That's really the culture I grew up with. We don't speak up. We respect our elders. It doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong, you respect them. I also grew up with, because we don't raise your hand, there's no self-promotion. You don't talk about, oh, I won this, or I'm doing so great, because we call it, you're a presumida and you think you're better. I also grew up around where I didn't want to be seen as whitewashed. And that's really, really hard, because in my culture, and not for all, this is not everybody, we believe that education, it's not really for us. I know that we've evolved a lot through the years, but when I went to college, man, my best friend and I, we were Latinas. Everybody else wasn't. So that was really hard for me to go through, loving my culture and wanting not to let go of it, but understanding that I needed to evolve and think differently. And, how do I put myself in these situations that are going to push me, and that where I am going to be the only one in the room, but I have to represent. It was hard to be in those rooms by myself and being surrounded by people that didn't really understand me. I wanted to assimilate. I wanted to hide who I was, all my cultural experiences. Back in the day, there wasn't Google. Later on, there was. So I would Google a bunch of things like, what does this mean? Or what does this phrase mean? It's been really interesting for sure.
I think regardless of where you come from, regardless of how you were raised, the complexities of navigating not only your culture, but then getting into the adult workforce and figuring out how to promote yourself, how to achieve your own goals, how to do the right thing. It's really complicated.
Yeah, I'm finally to a point that I'm owning it. I said, hey, this is who I am. So when I have people that tell me, oh, I can't believe you don't know who Bon Jovi is, I just say, well, I grew up with Los Tigres del Norte. Do you know who they are? And they're like, no, we didn't all grow up the same. And before I had to do a lot of this. Okay, when I'm at work, I have to be this person. And then when I'm at home, I have to be this person. And it's interesting because I think in Spanish, I feel like I express myself better in Spanish. I know that that's because that's all I grew up with. And now I'm even to a point, Megan, sometimes I'm like, did I say that right?
Were there any challenges you faced as a Latina in the gaming industry? And how did you navigate them? I'm interested to hear this one because, we are in a male-dominated industry, so I'm sure each of us has a story. So I'm very interested to hear yours.
I know I wouldn't even say it's a challenge, is that people just never assume I'm in my position, which is kind of great sometimes because I hear things that people say And I'm like, if they knew that I can take that information and use it, they wouldn't have said that. But there's been plenty of times. I had one where I went to an event with my team and the presenter came up to our table because we had our little table tent. And he came up and he went directly to the white tall male and said, "Thank you so much. It was a great welcome." And my entire team just looked at me. And one of them spoke up. And this is the time that I would have just like, I don't want to waste my energy. She spoke up and said, "He's not the boss. She's the boss. She made that happen." And his face fell, just like fell. I mean, they're embarrassed. They're so
Right.
embarrassed because they know what they did. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine. And I always make it to where it's not uncomfortable because I already know it's an uncomfortable feeling for them. But I just hope
Right.
that when they go back, they don't do that again to someone else. You can't
Right.
assume, right?
You hope that they learn a lesson. So take a step back in time, and we'll talk about Caesars just for a second. You were able to represent the Hispanic community at Caesars. So what did you do, and what impact do you feel your efforts had?
I served on our Hispanic Business Resource Group. I was the executive sponsor for it as well. And being able to normalize as new team members were onboarded and new leaders were onboarded. I had one that's actually still there said, "Man, I walked through the back hallway and I saw your photo and I was like, whoa, they have a Latina working for them. This is awesome." He joined the business resource group and I was like, man, I'm making an impact just by having my photo up there. What a great responsibility. It's a big responsibility that I have because I don't want to be seen as, oh, she just up there because she's a Latina, or, she's a Latina, so she gets all of the attention. I want to make sure that I'm actually making an impact and I'm helping them, like normalizing their experiences because I didn't have that. I didn't have someone that said, "Hey, it's okay that you only watch telenovelas. It's so cool that you grew up only listening to Latino music."
It's so important, and something I've talked about before myself is just representation matters, right? You need to be
It
able to
really does.
see someone like yourself in a position that you want to, strive for. And so I think
Right.
the fact that you have been a role model throughout your career and you've been able to basically be the face of what someone else's life and trajectory could be, it's so impactful.
Right. I tell them like, "Hey, I understand. My mom was a housekeeper. My dad's a construction worker." So being able to say, "Hey, I didn't come from money. I had to work really hard and I'm still working really hard. It hasn't ended. It's not like, oh, I made it. I can sit back and do nothing." We have a lot of hard work still ahead of us, right? To continue to help more people of color, more women, and put them in positions where we can highlight their work. And to your point, like their representation really does matter.
Absolutely. So next question, authenticity can be important, especially to marginalized communities. What does authenticity mean to you, and how does it impact your work life?
Authenticity means to me is being yourself, right? Being really vulnerable and really sharing what you know or what you don't know and being curious.
What advice would you give to other gaming organizations looking to improve their diversity and inclusion efforts? This is a big question.
Oh, yeah, it's a big question, especially as everything that's going on around us, right? We have companies pulling away from DEI, name changes. What do we call it? What do we do with it? Does it exclude other people? I mean, there is so much controversy around this. And what I would say is representation matters. Being a good partner and a big community partner, we owe it to our communities. It's something we have to pay it forward. We have to pay it forward. You're going to tell me if 50% of your workforce are women, line level, why wouldn't they be represented in higher levels of the organization? And the same with Latinos and African Americans. It's the same thing. Why wouldn't we be represented? And the reason a lot of the times is that we are not chosen is because we're not in those rooms. If I'm not golfing with executives, I'm out of sight, out of mind. If I didn't go to Harvard and everybody in your leadership is from Harvard, it's hard for you to think of Martha that went to UNLV, right? Or so I would say representation matters, diversity matters. It's a tax that we have to pay. That another way to say it, we owe it to the communities that we do business in.
And I think too, when you have a diverse thought, really, you get into thought leadership
Right.
because you're not in an echo chamber. You're able to hear the voices of the communities that you service and represent
Right.
and that are coming to you as consumers. And so you actually end up being more well-rounded in your offerings, more well-rounded in your considerations and how you spend money, and hopefully
Right.
more profitable, right? That's always
Right.
the goal.
Correct.
No, that's fantastic. So I'd love to shift over to your charitable work. You were the recipient of a scholarship from the Hospitality Charitable Foundation and continue to serve on the board today. Why was it important for you to stay involved with this organization?
Representation. It's interesting. When I joined, I was the first student that they honored the scholarship that wanted to go on the hospitality track. You had to either be wanting to be a chef or a food and beverage leader. I think my spiel on caring about people, and it doesn't matter what you do, you can make an impact. I think that's what got them. So I was honored the scholarship. And then years later, I was the first student that they invited to sit on the board of directors. I love the organization. The reason I continue to serve is because I represent the Latino community. I represent women. I represent people of color. And it's really, really important to me to help to continue to pay it forward. I sit on the scholarship committee, so I'm part of the interviews and honoring those scholarships. So for me, that's really, really important. This year was the first year I wasn't part of it, which it killed me. But when I've been part of the selection, I've had to raise my hand and say, hey, we're not thinking of this right. You have to understand that there's cultural differences. And maybe this person can't show you what you want because that's not the way that he or she grew up, right? And advocating for the Latino community is very different, right? In every community, we have things that we grow up by, unsaid rules, whether you may think that it's normal or not. But I've been able to just advocate for some students and advocate for our culture and how we show up, right? And how we show up, it may be different for you. Also reminding them that just because we need financial assistance doesn't mean our parents are bad. Doesn't mean we need to be saved. I think for me, that's probably been the hardest part. A lot of it comes not from a bad place because all these people want to give back and they are giving back to the community and they want to be part of the change. But a lot of it is just ignorance, it's unconscious bias that they don't realize that they have.
Right. And that advocacy, I think so many people think of the lives that you've already touched just because you were able to be their voice in the room and to help them set their life on a different path, right?
Yes.
No, that's fantastic. What are some of the programs and opportunities that you offer in your board role?
So we have financial assistance, not only for tuition, but also for books. We have mentorship, which is probably the best part of it. We have a lot of volunteering opportunities that we give our students because a lot of the times they have to fulfill for their college courses. We also do tutoring. We have financial programs like what is a credit score? How do you set up a bank account if you don't have it? Your 401k, when getting ready for all that, you're not taught in college about a 401k and investment opportunities and how to save money or open up a credit card or why your credit is so important. So that's some of the programs that we offer our students. Yeah, we have a really great foundation.
I was going to say, it sounds extremely comprehensive. So you shared a really special, proudest moment from your work life. I'd love to hear your proudest moment from your charitable work that you do.
It's very similar. So anytime our students graduate, we invite them to come to a board meeting. We had 3 graduates this year and they went around and one of them is sitting next to me. She was my mentee when she was a freshman. So they asked them and say, what has been the most impactful moment and how can mentors improve to make sure that they're impactful and they're helping you? And the first graduate, she said, and I told her, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You have to work hard. In her own words, she was whining and whining and whining and whining. And I said, like, enough. Nobody cares. I know that I probably had tried to tell her this in a different way that she just wasn't getting. So I had to just say, nobody cares. We need to
drive it home.
I had to drive it home. And she said that and the entire board looked at me and I was like, oh my God, why would you say that? And then the other graduate, she's never my mentee. So I didn't know it. And she looked around the room And she said, I know she's never been my mentor, but the person that's been the most impactful in my college journey is Martha Morales, because she's the only one on this table that looks like me. And I lost it. I lost it. It's because I know how impactful that is. I know that I didn't have it. I know that a lot of people don't have it. So when she said that, I was like, whoa, okay, I'm in the right place. I'm going to stay here.
So you've been there for 10 years. What would your hopes be for the future of the foundation?
The foundation continues to expand, and the hope is that we continue to raise money and grow the number of scholarships that we honor. There's years that we're able to honor 5 students. There's years that we've been able to honor 10 students, 12 students. We're back at 8 students. It all depends on how much money we raise throughout the year that we honor, because we want to make sure that we're financially able to pay for everybody's education all 4 or 5 years, right? So my hopes will be that we continue to grow, but also continue to look at ways of diversifying our board, find board members that look like our students, that represent our students.
What a great mission. And it's been exciting learning about your foundation too. I wasn't familiar with it. You're touching so many people's lives. You're making the world a better place because of who you're working with. So here's always an interesting question for a little bit of reflection. What advice would you give to young professionals starting out in the gaming industry, especially young women and Latinas?
One is find your tribe. Get involved. You're not going to find help sitting at your office or, working from home if you do work from home and not getting out there. Sometimes it's hard that after a long day of work, you just want to come home, but there might be a happy hour that you were invited to. Put yourself out there. That's like the number one thing that I would give somebody that is starting or wants to continue to grow. You'll be surprised how many people want to help and pay it forward because somebody helped them, right? We didn't always just magically appear where we're at. Just get out there. If your organization has business resource groups, get involved in those. Those are always really helpful, again, to build a network. It's really, really about building a network. Sometimes you may not get the help that you need or the attention that you need or whatever it may be within the organization that you're in, but someone's out there willing to give it to you.
What a great kind of bookend to such a fantastic conversation. Thank you for being so open and authentic with everything that you've shared today. It's just been such a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you for listening to Level Up with Wondr. Visit wondrnation.com/level up for more podcast episodes about how we're reimagining the gaming entertainment industry. Want to level up your business? Visit our contact page at wondrnation.com to inquire about our strategic consulting or management services.